You simply cannot negotiate complex freight contracts with demanding steel mills while sitting cross-legged on a velvet pillow that squeaks every time you shift your weight. But I honestly never believed she would actually pull the trigger on my career. Before this, I spent a decade in the military handling intricate supply chains for naval deployments across the globe. I started at 18, finished in my late 20s, and dove straight into civilian industrial freight management. I am the reason our dedicated drivers never find themselves stranded in the freezing plains of the Midwest with broken machinery and no access to emergency spare parts. Yet, here I was, sitting across from Chelsea inside what she unironically called her transparency pod, a glass enclosure that smelled heavily of lavender essential oils and overpriced artisanal coffee. My uncle, Elias Keller, who is 76 years old now and fiercely built this entire logistics enterprise from a single rusted flatbed truck 28 years ago, would have laughed her right out of the building. "Martin," she said softly, dramatically pressing her palms together in front of her chest as if starting a meditation session. "It simply does not align with our immediate pivot toward collaborative, emotionally intelligent optimization." I sat still. "You are actually terminating my employment because of my operational management style?" I asked, my voice devoid of any measurable emotion. "It is not a termination, Martin," she quickly corrected me, her thin voice dripping with that manufactured positivity they drill into their heads at expensive private business schools. "We are realigning you so you can find a different organization that better matches your specific operational frequency. Your structured approach just does not sync with the agile future of industrial logistics." It was 2:45 in the afternoon. The daily inventory synchronization, the digital heartbeat of this entire multinational operation, was rigidly scheduled to run its authentication protocol at exactly 3 o'clock. Without my direct authorization, the core system does not just gently pause operations. It assumes a hostile external security breach and ruthlessly locks down every single digital asset like a military bunker during an active siege. "All right, Chelsea, you are the newly appointed visionary leader." "You got it." I stood up from my uncomfortable wooden chair. I did not hurl her carefully arranged organic succulents through the pristine glass wall, even though the primal urge to do exactly that was significantly stronger than my desperate craving for a strong cup of black coffee. I simply reached deep into my pocket, slowly pulled out my heavy polycarbonate security badge, the specific badge equipped with administrative clearance levels exponentially higher than her own, and casually slid it across her reclaimed bamboo standing desk. Chelsea rapidly blinked her eyes, looking genuinely confused for the first time during the entire meeting. 20 minutes for what? Exactly, she asked, tilting her head. "Take all the time you need, Martin. We truly want this entire transition process to be holistic and healing. For everyone involved," she offered, missing the grave reality of the situation. 20 minutes before the absolute ghost within the central machine realizes I have formally exited the premises, I said, slowly turning my body toward the heavy glass door. "If I do not physically authorize the major 3 o'clock synchronization protocol, the main server architecture assumes a highly coordinated hostile takeover is in progress. It instantly severs the secure data connections to our primary credit lenders. The heavy transport trucks forcefully stop in their tracks. The automated warehouse forklifts permanently lock down. The specific encryption layer protecting the authentication protocol is my own intellectual property, protected under Title 17, United States Code, Section 106. If your new team attempts to forcefully bypass or reverse engineer my copyrighted code, the company will be instantly liable for statutory damages for willful infringement. You are obviously bluffing to intimidate me. The new technology team explicitly assured me that everything in our infrastructure is cloud native now." "You mean the 3 young kids you recently hired, strictly because they had interesting geometric tattoos, and confidently claimed they possessed deep knowledge of disruptive blockchain technologies? I sincerely wish you the best of luck with that holistic approach." I strode past the expansive open-plan office layout, walking right past the endless rows of young employees staring at their sleek silver laptops, and I suddenly felt a remarkably cold sensation firmly settling deep within my chest. It was not anger anymore. She desperately wanted a cultural vibe check. I was about to single-handedly deliver a catastrophic seismic event that would permanently alter the corporate landscape of this company forever. That brief descent provided me with more than enough time to deeply reflect on 19 long, exhausting years of tragically missed family dinners, endlessly canceled weekend fishing trips, and countless freezing nights spent sleeping on a terrible canvas cot in the corner of an unheated warehouse, simply because a brutal winter blizzard had knocked out the regional power grid and our ancient backup generators required manual restarting every 3 hours. I gave this corporate entity everything I had to offer, and for what ultimate purpose? To be unceremoniously told my operational frequency was fundamentally flawed by a young, inexperienced kid whose absolute hardest day in life likely involved the agonizing decision between ordering oat milk or almond milk for her iced beverage. The expansive main lobby was an architectural marvel of polished marble and pristine glass, buffed to a state of sterile perfection. "Leaving a bit early today, Mr. Martin?" Oscar politely asked, briefly looking up from his complicated puzzle grid with a warm, familiar smile greeting me. "Permanent, enforced vacation, Oscar," I casually replied, slowly pulling out the sleek corporate credit card from my worn leather wallet and carelessly tossing it directly onto the center of his polished desk. "Apparently, my personal energy is bad for the office feng shui." Oscar let out a loud, genuine snort of sheer disbelief. "You take good care of yourself, my friend. This entire place is going to rapidly fall apart at the seams without your guidance." The precise moment my heavy leather boots solidly hit the concrete sidewalk, my mobile phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a very distinct vibration pattern. It was the highly specific automated panic pattern I had manually programmed into the system several years ago exclusively for catastrophic system alerts. I pulled the device out and looked at the glowing screen. System synchronization, aforcen missing. Warehouse 117 is unresponsive. Warehouse 119 is unresponsive. The rapidly updating list of critical failures endlessly scrolled down my bright screen, exactly like the depressing end credits of a tragic movie where every single beloved character meets a terrible demise at the end. It was exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I slowly reached into my jacket and pulled out a small foil-wrapped chocolate. But when you have spent 19 long years constantly inhaling acrid diesel fumes, thick warehouse dust, and terrible forklift exhaust in poorly ventilated industrial spaces, a tiny piece of rich, dark chocolate feels like a luxurious breath of fresh mountain air. I casually looked back up at that towering glass skyscraper, vividly imagining the absolute chaos that was currently starting to bloom high up on the 42nd floor. High up there on the 42nd floor, the manufactured, peaceful silence was breaking apart. I knew exactly, down to the second, what was simultaneously happening across multiple departments, and this was not a gentle, aesthetically pleasing warning red. We are talking about a visually abrasive nuclear meltdown red. It was the primary operations management group chat, a specific channel I had technically been removed from exactly 10 minutes ago. But the slow, inefficient cloud system had not yet properly updated the complex user permissions across the global network architecture. Simon Reed, our vice president of operations, frantically typed in all capital letters asking why the entire Chicago distribution center was currently showing 0 inventory. Then came the predictable message from Chelsea, the visionary chief executive officer herself, demanding to know who currently possessed Martin's override code and commanding someone to call him immediately without delay. I slowly chewed my piece of chocolate, staring directly at the glass tower. It was the culmination of 19 years of deeply ingrained institutional knowledge. It was intimately knowing that the specific barcode scanner in loading Bay 12 of the Texas hub constantly reads double on Tuesday afternoons entirely. Because of the blinding sun glare, reflecting off the adjacent building, and you have to manually adjust the final tally by exactly 8% to prevent accounting errors. Furthermore, the core cryptographic handshake required to bypass the synchronization failure was strictly protected by Title 17 of the United States Code. I owned the intellectual property of that specific code, and any unauthorized attempt to forcefully break the encryption would trigger a cascade of legal and financial liabilities that would bankrupt them all. They lobotomized the entire central nervous system of a multinational operating network. I calmly walked over to my personal vehicle, a highly reliable, heavily weathered, dark green pickup truck that had miraculously survived significantly more road salt than a pretzel manufacturing facility, and I carelessly threw my heavy canvas bag directly onto the torn passenger seat. I had one important stop to make before the day was over. My phone was vibrating so against the hard plastic center console that it was slowly sliding toward the edge like a deeply depressed lemming attempting to end its misery on the floor. I simply let it ring loudly through the quiet cabin of the truck. Let them sweat through their expensive, sustainable clothing. I confidently shifted the truck into drive, checked my mirrors, and smoothly merged into the heavy afternoon city traffic. The corporate chaos was only just beginning to unfold, and I had secured front row seats to the greatest show in the city limits. A logistics network is similar to a giant, complex living organism. It deeply breathes in raw materials, it constantly eats amounts of operational data, and it tirelessly processes highly complex variables 24 hours a day. While I was peacefully driving my truck toward the expansive interstate highway, happily humming along to some classic rock playing softly on the radio, the entire electronic nerve center of ironclad logistics solutions was suffering from a massive, unrecoverable digital stroke of catastrophic proportions. The aging legacy system was not just a simple calculator counting cardboard boxes in a warehouse. It constantly took raw, unfiltered data from our ancient, squeaky mechanical conveyor systems and elegantly converted it into perfectly clean, formatted financial numbers that the aggressive banking institutions desperately wanted to see on their screens. Without my daily biometric authentication, which reliably ran highly complex data-scrubbing scripts in the background, the terrifyingly raw, chaotic data feed was hitting the main financial server unfiltered for the very first time in the history of the entire enterprise network. The very first obvious symptom of the failure would be the terrifying appearance of phantom inventory. The core system, suddenly seeing amounts of unverified and chaotic data flooding the network, automatically defaults to its strict safe mode protocol. At exactly 3:15 in the afternoon, a hard-working sales representative sitting in a busy office in Detroit probably desperately tried to quickly process an urgent, high-priority order for 3,000 units of heavy industrial piping. He would confidently type in the specific alphanumeric product code, press the Enter key, and watch his bright monitor blink with a terrifying error message indicating zero stock available. I personally counted exactly 5 pallets of that exact piping this morning. He would frantically check the system again, only to see the stock location listed as unknown and the inventory status marked as missing completely. Every single physical item, from tiny metal screws to industrial generators, was currently showing up on the financial ledgers as having vanished into thin air. My mobile phone suddenly went silent. However, the wireless Bluetooth connection was still seamlessly syncing automated text notifications to the display on my dashboard in real time. An urgent text message arrived from Diana, our toughest, most experienced warehouse manager operating out of a facility in rural Iowa. We have dozens of heavy transport drive orders backed up all the way to the main interstate highway. One angry driver has grabbed a heavy steel crowbar and is currently threatening the loading dock staff out front. My heavy heart genuinely went out to Diana and her hard-working crew. They were good, honest people who made the absolute best barbecue ribs at the annual company picnic, and they did not deserve to be caught in the middle of this corporate crossfire. The real, existential problem for the company was not the angry truck drivers, however. The true catastrophe was the flow of money. Those specific lenders utilized a highly aggressive, automated algorithm that silently pinged our central inventory levels every single hour to definitively ensure we held enough valuable physical collateral to adequately cover our outstanding corporate loans. If the total calculated value of the company inventory ever dropped below a certain strictly defined threshold, the entire financial credit line instantly froze without any human intervention whatsoever. It vanished from the digital face of the earth. According to the highly sophisticated banking computer systems, ironclad logistics solutions now definitively own nothing but some leased, highly overpriced office furniture and a ridiculous collection of expensive velvet meditation cushions. The highly touted agile technology team she had proudly hired, young kids who looked like they should be intensely gaming in a basement instead of managing critical financial spreadsheets, would be frantically, uselessly typing on glowing keyboards that were no longer connected to anything that mattered in the real world anymore. Just manually reboot the servers. Chelsea would be hysterically screaming at the top of her lungs, her carefully crafted aura of toxic positivity shattered into a million pieces. But you cannot simply reboot a digital famine. You cannot restart a total, all-consuming void. I legally owned the intellectual property of the core encryption logic, and their unauthorized digital tampering would instantly expose the entire board of directors to personal liability and catastrophic statutory damages in federal court. I was steadily heading out of the crowded city now, the towering skyline rapidly shrinking in my dusty rearview mirror. I was purposefully driving toward the only living person who could truly, deeply appreciate the absolute artistic beauty of this coordinated disaster unfolding behind me. The cold water tasted exactly like pure, unadulterated freedom and absolute vindication, but mostly, it tasted heavily of vindication. The truly scary part of this entire situation was that I had not even officially unleashed the absolute worst part of the system failure yet. It was deeply integrated into the automated routing systems. At exactly 3:45 in the afternoon, the highly complex, automated central dispatch system would automatically broadcast heavily updated geographic coordinates to every single transport truck currently operating within our national fleet of vehicles. Standard, unyielding operational protocol firmly dictated that empty trucks must immediately abandon their current routes and return directly to their primary base of operations to save on expensive diesel fuel. Suddenly, 1,050 transport trucks, many of them full and halfway to their final critical destinations, were about to execute highly dangerous, synchronized U-turns on interstate highways all across the North American continent simultaneously. The lively radio disc jockey suddenly came on the air, interrupting the music. Urgent traffic alert for all our listeners out there today. Please avoid the entire southern area if you can. It is an absolute nightmare out there on the roads right now. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Chelsea's pristine transparency pod had undoubtedly devolved into a toxic, screaming war zone of absolute incompetence. I knew exactly what was happening in that room because I intimately knew exactly who she had foolishly hired to replace my seasoned technology team. In his place, she had proudly hired a trendy digital nomad who proudly listed his occupation as a disruptive blockchain visionary on his social media profiles and primarily worked from noisy, overpriced coffee shops downtown. Here is the fundamental, tragic flaw regarding modern disruptive blockchain visionaries. They falsely assume that if a critical system suddenly breaks down, you simply click a button and spin up a brand new virtual instance. But our heavy legacy system was not floating around in some highly sanitized corporate cloud. My mobile phone suddenly lit up the dark cab of the truck with another urgent notification. It was a lengthy voicemail message. "Martin, this is Chelsea," the message began, her voice shaking in fear. "Look, there seems to be a very minor, unexpected synchronization issue with our holistic data flow. This is highly unprofessional behavior on your part. If you do not call me back in exactly 5 minutes, I am immediately contacting our corporate legal team. It is highly illegal and dangerous. Company assets." I laughed so hard that I actually startled a large deer peacefully grazing in the open green field I was currently passing. "You cannot legally sue me for retaining my own memories and thoughts." The deep irony of her desperate threat was truly beautiful. I had carefully written dozens of detailed, well-researched proposals, explicitly warning that critical infrastructure failure was imminent without immediate, substantial modernization investments. Chelsea had casually used those critical, detailed engineering proposals as convenient coasters for her icy, fermented kombucha drinks, condescendingly telling me that I was being highly resistant to modern innovation and positive change. Back at the chaotic headquarters, the panicked staff would currently be flooding the large conference rooms, desperately printing out thousands of pages of outdated spreadsheets from the previous month, frantically trying to manually reconcile the inventory shortages by hand. It is the modern era, yet they are undoubtedly frantically digging through dusty, forgotten metal filing cabinets, desperately looking for ancient fax machines that might still work to communicate with our stranded drivers. The towering pine trees were dense out here in this remote area, shielding this quiet part of the world from the screaming corporate chaos I had proudly left behind in the burning city. The cellular reception out here was spotty, but a single urgent text message miraculously managed to squeeze through the weak signal from unknown number. Every single truck is turning around mid-route. Chelsea is currently locked securely inside the executive bathroom crying. The strange number looked vaguely familiar. It was almost certainly Jared Flynn, my recently fired highly skilled systems administrator. He had highly likely hacked his way directly into the secure internal communications network just to sit back, eat popcorn, and watch the digital fireworks from wherever Chelsea had foolishly banished him. I did not bother to type out a reply. I was not just driving out here to hide in a quiet cabin. I was specifically driving to personally see the man who started this entire logistics empire. Elias Keller's remote lakeside cabin was not some flimsy, luxurious weekend getaway retreat. It was a fortress masterfully constructed of thick, heavy cedar logs and solid river stone, overlooking a massive, deep lake that currently looked exactly like a sheet of hammered, cold steel reflecting the dying afternoon sun. He forcefully retired about 3 years ago, reluctantly handing operational control over to the wealthy board of directors with very explicit, unbreakable instructions for them. Do not ever mess with the physical operations of this company. You just quietly handle the complicated financial paperwork and stay out of his way permanently. I slowly parked my truck right next to his immaculate, vintage heavy-duty pickup truck near the porch. It was quiet. It was the specific kind of profound, unbroken quiet that forces you to actually remember what true peace feels like deep inside. He looked exactly like a massive, aging grizzly bear that had suddenly decided to wear comfortable flannel clothing and retire gracefully into the deep woods. He slowly looked up as I walked over, his sharp eyes narrowing dangerously under his thick, bushy white eyebrows observing me. His deep voice sounded exactly like heavy gravel tumbling inside a large metal cement mixer. I just got heavily realigned, I said casually, slowly leaning my heavy frame against the solid wooden porch railing. Elias's hands instantly stopped moving. He slowly looked directly at me, then looked down at his open tackle box, then slowly looked back up at me. My specific operational frequency was far too legacy-based, which was blocking the natural collaborative flow of the enterprise, I replied smoothly. Elias slowly, deliberately set down his expensive fishing gear. Elias never exploded. He imploded, instantly creating a massive, terrifying vacuum that sucked all the available oxygen straight out of the immediate area around us. On a busy weekday, right before the system synchronization, she realigned me. She graciously gave me exactly 20 minutes to transition my responsibilities holistically, I answered. He knew the intricate legacy system significantly better than anyone else on the planet, except for me personally. He knew all about the financial credit lines. He deeply understood the complex truck routing algorithms, and he knew exactly what the terrifying phantom inventory protocols would immediately do to the network infrastructure. Completely frozen as of about an hour ago, I replied. The fleet of trucks, I asked. It has probably made the evening traffic report by now. Elias let out a long, slow breath that seemed to carry 28 years of profound, heavy frustration. No ice. He slid one directly across the table to me without speaking. I explicitly told her she had exactly 20 minutes before total collapse. I also explicitly warned her that the encryption layer is my personal intellectual property, fully protected under Title 17, United States Code, Section 106. She condescendingly asked if I wanted to take a short mindfulness break to properly process my negative transition energy. Elias took a sip of the strong bourbon and stared blankly out at the cold lake. I built this entire company with my own blood and thousands of painfully missed birthdays, he said finally, his voice thick with heavy emotion. I missed your cousin's high school graduation just to secure the Midwest distribution contract. He slowly turned his head to look directly at me, and I could easily see the intense, unyielding fire still burning brightly in those old, tired eyes. And that foolish girl just fired the chief mechanic because she simply did not like the sight of dark grease under his fingernails working on engines. It is the absolute only piece of technology that works reliably out here in the deep woods, he muttered angrily. Who exactly are you calling right now? I asked. Then I am calling the bank. Then I am probably calling my corporate lawyer. When someone finally answered, his voice instantly shifted into that terrifying, authoritative tone I vividly remembered from when I was a young kid and had accidentally broken something important inside the house. Simon, it is Elias. My foolish niece just severed the entire central nervous system of our company. No, do not put me on hold. She does not understand what is currently happening, and neither do you, apparently. Pull the system audit logs right this second. Yes, that is the exact one. When you finally see the specific timestamps, you are going to desperately need something significantly stronger than a cup of coffee to handle the shock. Fix it, Elias laughed, a dark, terrifying sound that literally made the circling eagles rapidly change their direction in the sky above. Simon, I cannot fix it. The expensive technology team you are so proud of cannot fix it. Furthermore, the core encryption is Martin's legal intellectual property under Title 17. There is exactly one person on this entire planet who can legally and technically fix this disaster, and he is currently sitting on my porch, drinking my expensive bourbon and peacefully watching the sun go down over the lake. You had better pray to whatever God you believe in that he is in a highly generous negotiating mood today. Emergency, mandatory board meeting. They are frantically patching us in via secure conference call in exactly 2 minutes. You honestly think I am doing this without backup? Elias stood up, his aging knees cracking loudly in the quiet air. You are the absolute most valuable asset in their entire corporate portfolio right now, Martin. He slowly walked inside the dark cabin to the landline, an ancient heavy rotary phone sitting proudly on a desk made of solid unyielding oak. It was the only phone he truly trusted for serious, aggressive business negotiations. The bright sun was rapidly dipping below the dense tree line, casting long, dark shadows entirely across the heavy wooden cabin floor. Outside, the natural world was peaceful. The heavy rotary phone rang with that shrill, piercing mechanical sound that only ancient rotary phones can truly make. Elias picked it up forcefully on the second ring. He listened silently for a moment, his weathered face carved entirely from solid granite. Then he looked directly at me and slowly winked his eye. Put her in the designated waiting room or the company daycare center. I do not care. He slammed the heavy phone onto the loudspeaker setting. The loud static crackled through the quiet cabin exactly like a roaring campfire. His usually smooth voice sounded exactly like he had been gargling sharp gravel in sheer, unadulterated panic. I am right here, Simon. I could easily hear the absolute crushing tension in that distant boardroom. I could almost hear the squeak of their expensive leather chairs as the wealthy board members shifted around, highly uncomfortably listening to my voice. We need to resolve this situation immediately. The aggressive lenders are heavily threatening to formally call in the loans. The company's stock price is currently in an absolute, terrifying free fall. That sounds stressful, Simon. I was heavily realigned, remember. My specific energy frequency simply did not match the modern future vision of the enterprise going forward. It was a complete misunderstanding. Chelsea acted entirely prematurely. Now, let us cut through all of the pathetic corporate nonsense. You deeply want the system fully operational. He is the only person with the legal right to access the code and the biometric root access required to fix it. If your foolish technology team tries to forcefully crowbar open that digital vault, they will permanently wipe the entire database and face federal lawsuits for copyright infringement under Title 17 immediately. They all knew it was the absolute truth. In the noisy background, I could easily hear what sounded exactly like muffled, terrified arguments and someone frantically typing on a keyboard. I looked directly at Elias. He nodded slowly, exactly like a seasoned general granting explicit permission to open heavy fire on the enemy forces. I do not come back as a simple employee. I returned strictly as the Executive Vice President of Operations. This is non-negotiable. That is a highly significant financial increase, Simon choked out, coughing. Do you really want to negotiate my salary, or do you want the freight moving across the country again today? Done. That was far too fast. I really should have asked for 5 times my salary. No more ridiculous energy assessments, no more mandatory meditation breaks, and no more agile technology sprints run by inexperienced children who have never even loaded a wooden pallet. I am hiring my entire old veteran team back immediately. They all receive 40% raises, and I require formal written apologies from the entire board of directors before I start. That is highly irregular. Simon, I interrupted, I am sure your human resources policies are comprehensive. But right now, your fleet of trucks is sitting idle on highways looking exactly like very expensive metal lawn ornaments. A long, agonizing pause followed. More muffled. Panicked arguing echoed in the noisy background. It is fully agreed. What is your final condition for us? Chelsea gets permanently removed from any and all operational oversight. She is not allowed to speak directly to me. She cannot email me, and she cannot breathe foolish suggestions about disruptive blockchain optimization anywhere near my entire department. The silence stretched across the phone line, exactly like a thick rubber band about to snap in half. Removing the founder's own niece was delicate, highly dangerous corporate politics to navigate. She is a massive, dangerous financial liability. Elias growled directly into the speakerphone. You do it right now, Simon, or I will personally sell my 45% ownership stake tomorrow morning and tank the company stock so hard you will all be delisted from the exchange before lunch break. Okay, we will immediately restructure her entire corporate role. Excellent, I said smoothly. Immediately draft the binding legal contracts. Yes, he still has one, and it is significantly more reliable than your current chief executive officer. When exactly can you be here? Simon pleaded loudly. Every single minute costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I am exactly 2 hours away. Can you not just simply give us the secure access codes over the phone? I paused dramatically for maximum effect, taking another slow sip of the strong bourbon. My specific energy needs to be physically present in the room to properly facilitate the holistic healing system restoration process. The digital corporate chakras heavily require manual, deeply spiritual realignment. Elias was grinning exactly like a massive, hungry shark who had just happily discovered a dense school of blind fish swimming nearby. I hung up the heavy phone. You are absolutely ruthlessly brilliant, Martin. I am proud of you. Chelsea successfully taught me how to break them systematically. We proudly raised our heavy glasses to the absolute silence of over 1,000 trucks and hundreds of warehouses. I slowly pulled my truck into the ironclad parking lot at exactly 8 o'clock in the evening. The towering glass building blazed with bright lights on every single floor. Elias proudly rode shotgun in his heavy Silverado, following my truck closely. We confidently walked right into the main lobby, exactly like we fully owned the entire place, which technically we kind of did. When Oscar finally saw me, he proudly stood up and actually threw a sharp military salute. Welcome back to the war zone, sir. We confidently took the slow elevator straight up to the 42nd floor. The terrible smell hit me immediately. Chelsea's ridiculous transparency pod was packed significantly tighter than a fully loaded shipping container. Simon the chairman, the entire aggressive legal team, and huddled in the far corner on her ridiculous meditation cushion was Chelsea herself. When I finally walked confidently into the crowded room, the entire space went completely, terrifyingly dead silent. You could have easily heard a tiny stock price drop to the floor. The wire transfer is fully confirmed. Please, Martin, just make the bleeding stop. Someone had already cleared half of it, foolishly replacing my comfortable ergonomic chair with a ridiculous unstable exercise ball. I kicked the heavy rubber ball across the large room. I calmly sat down in a real sturdy chair I forcefully dragged over from another desk, quickly opened my heavy laptop and forcefully plugged directly into the secure hardline. The large terminal screen was a wall of solid, angry red error messages. I carefully entered my massive complex password and firmly placed my right thumb directly onto the glowing biometric scanner on the desk. The screen slowly turned from an angry, violent red to a peaceful, calm green in exactly 30 seconds. The office phones immediately started loudly ringing off the hook. It was the beautiful, chaotic sound of a company coming back to life. The inventory is fully live. The fleet of trucks will receive updated routing coordinates in exactly 90 seconds. I slowly looked directly at Chelsea, who still would not meet my intense gaze. My old veteran team forcefully returns to work at exactly 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then I confidently walked straight to the elevator, proudly rode it all the way down, and happily drove directly to an greasy all-night diner for the absolute best, thickest steak of my entire life. Sometimes the old-fashioned ways work the best for everyone.